Don't let her in yet. Recording. Okay.
Hey, Megan, thank you for joining us today in the 18 Summer Show.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great to see you. So, Megan, you were with Tony Robbins for 13 years. I know that that's definitely a household. I mean, in like our world, I feel like so many people know who entrepreneurial circles completely like know who that is. I'm sure, was that like drinking out of a fire hydrant 24 hours a day? What was that like?
Yeah, it was definitely high energy and go, go, go. And it was an incredible time of my life. I got to travel the world and meet some really incredible humans, and it was a beautiful experience. So I feel really blessed to have had it.
Yeah. And now you've co-founded Your Best Life Now. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And now how much of like what brought you to that? I'm certain that, 13 years in such a developmental tank of Tony Robbins, how has your path evolved into where you're at right now, co-founding this?
So, actually the pandemic brought me there, which I'm so grateful for. I had, been with Tony for a long time and traveled, and I had just had my youngest son, and I was just like doing 18 events a year. And I'm like, I just really want to be more present for him and take a step back. And just like I said, I was kind of caught up in the whole roller coaster, and, I wasn't as present as I wanted to be. So, the pandemic hit, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're not traveling anymore. And it was perfect timing because I was like, I needed this because this is kind of, my transition out into other things. So I had initially decided to take a step back and leave that organization to focus on raising my son. I had gone through a divorce at the time, and I really just wanted to focus on him. And I opened a little yoga studio that I, wanted to build some community around, and just kind of simplify things for a while. And from there, probably just within a few months, one of my former clients from Tony Robbins, because my last position there was I ran his group of entrepreneurs and business owners called Platinum Partnership, and they traveled the world with him for a year. And so I managed that group, and one of my clients reached out to me and was like, Megan, we're not traveling anymore because of the pandemic. And so I want to create, a mastermind of, business owners and entrepreneurs that want to meet up and connect, and would you want to be a part of it? And at first I was kind of like, well, I can't do that kind of travel anymore. And he said, no, you can help create it and design it the way you want. So it was a really beautiful gift to tap into my creative, experience and talent to kind of birth this child of Your Best Life. And that's what we did. So it's a group of about 100 business owners and entrepreneurs from around the world, and our 4 core values are faith, family, fitness, and finance. And that's really where it began. So we do, live events around the world. And then we also provide our clients with business coaching, family coaching, relationship coaching, and strategizing. So it's a really beautiful group of people who really just want to grow all areas of their life and really help each other as well.
Yeah. And are you seeing a common theme? Obviously, great core values to start with. Pandemic, post-pandemic, are you seeing a common struggle that entrepreneurs are having today?
I think it's really the way you look at it. I think, through my career, I've worked with entrepreneurs and business owners, and most of them are successful. Maybe financially they're very successful, but they are not fulfilled. And so they are trying to, chase and find this sense of fulfillment. And that's what I have learned in my experience, that's why community is so important. Because it doesn't matter how much money you have, it doesn't matter how big your business is, that is not going to fulfill you. That's not going to be the long-term goal that you want as well. So that's why we really drive in are so passionate about community and coming together and supporting each other. We have some members who, yeah, their businesses are great, but maybe they're not great in relationships or their family dynamics. So everyone is really helping each other grow and help where they need to be.
Now, you mentioned your son earlier. I know that you have a blended family. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have a 16-year-old, just turned 16 last week, and a 6-year-old. So diverse diverse ages, two boys and two totally opposite personalities. And it's been so beautiful. I think, after going through some hardships and figuring out, what didn't work, when my partner and I did come together, we had both done a lot of, personal development work on our own and share a lot of the same values. And so it was, divine timing kind of. And both of us come from similar backgrounds and situations and experiences. And it's all been a beautiful gift that continues to unfold. And it's really wonderful to have someone walk that path with you who shares in the sense of, our family comes first no matter what, and our kids and each other. That's why we do the travel on our trips for YBL about 3 times a year, and that gives us the space to grow together, where we don't have the kids and businesses and things like that going on. And so it's a beautiful gift to connect. And then when we're home, we're with our kids every day, fully engaged and fully involved.
And is there any advice you'd give? Because we have a blended family as well. Is there any advice you'd give to people entering that situation, in that situation, possibly going into that situation?
Yeah. I think have some grace, right? Because every person it's different, for my little one, he's really loud and outgoing and needs a lot of attention. And then our teenager is really reserved and doesn't talk a lot. So it's, really, especially with the kids, because I think as when you're in a relationship as a grown up, you're just excited. Oh, we're going to blend our family and this is going to be so fun. And, things happen, especially with kids, with the way they grow and develop.
Sure.
Um, but I think it's all about making them feel loved and safe and heard, and that they're part of this. So nothing's being taken away from them. Like, you're not losing something that, but you're actually gaining something. You're gaining more love. You're gaining, more people, and you're a part of creating this. We have, sat with our kids and we together created our family rules, our family values, so that a 6-year-old can understand them and a 51-year-old can understand them. So, we all know our roles, and we all know, what our expectations are within the household. So, that's what's worked for us.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that
Oh,
when Jim and I started dating, I always reflected to people that the boys didn't know whether he was showing up to play with me or to play with them.
Yeah.
And it just really, it created such an environment of that it was about all of us, not just
Right.
about. And then as time went on, it became more of a hierarchy. For a period of time, it was kind of just like level where we were all equally important and getting to know each other and whatever. And then I feel like it kind of started to show like, okay, well, we have dates. Well, now we have space. We're married. We have,
Yeah.
it's just a little bit as it progressed. But I think in the beginning, especially, it was just so important that they were like, wow, he's like here to see me too.
Exactly. And that, I think with kids, sometimes they worry, are you going to love this person more than me? Right? Is this going to be, again, something taken from me? And it's like teaching them, like, there is so much love in this world for everyone. And it's just going to keep growing and overflowing. And the more gratitude we have and pour into this, everybody will feel safe and secure. And I love the date night thing. We actually, not only because we were doing date nights with ourselves, but we're like, okay, let's now, date nights. Everybody has to have a date in the family. So, my partner and I, we have a date, and then my younger one and I have a date, and then my partner and my younger one have a date, and then our teenager and me, and then the two kids, because that was really. And it's still a work in progress, because the age difference, the little one idolizes the teen, but he's kind of
Oh,
like, he's annoying.
yeah,
So,
we know all about
you guys
that.
got it. Yeah, right. You guys know what I'm talking about. So it's really, again, just getting them comfortable and knowing, like, and I think what comes in time, is, you guys probably know, is finally they're like, okay, I guess, like, we're not going anywhere. So let's, we're in this.
yeah.
Together,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we definitely, the one-to-one principle is probably one of our bedrocks we're known for. You got to separate the parts to strengthen the whole. And so I think that's so important. And it's good to hear, like, from your vast background of this depth, that that's a focal point for you as well. I think another focal point that you just brought up that a lot of people will just glaze over or almost throw their hands in the air and back away from is when you're like, well, my husband and I, my partner and I, when we're leaving for these 3 times a year for our time. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs that have this absolute guilt that they're saying, well, when's the last time you went away together? Oh, or just an
Well, and
overnight.
not even just entrepreneurs, but like moms not wanting
yeah.
to detach,
From
or
like
like
5 or 6 years ago, we took a trip like 6 years ago, 6 years. And they're saying, well, I can't abandon my children. And
or my
so
work, or
when people say that, I mean, we have our own take on that, but I love to hear that you're doing that because I think it shows a huge example that you want to set. But what do you say to people who are doing this and people who work with, well, I couldn't go away with my wife or my husband, the kids.
True.
Well, I think, we're in the society now where it's like, go, go, go. And you got to run your businesses and you got to take care of your family. And it's like, we got to fill our own cup. If we want to like run our businesses and run our families effectively, you got to take care of yourself. And, as parents, as the, the kind of the providers in this family, it's like our relationship, and I'm sure you guys probably feel this way too, especially, from experience. It's like this comes first. This is like so solid to us, and we have to walk our talk and show our kids, I mean, they are watching everything. So, I remember when I had first had my son and the whole like, I can't leave him, like, something's gonna happen. And then like I was even telling a client this the other day because she hadn't left her 2 kids yet. And she's like, I need to be with my husband. And because she wanted to bring her kids on a trip. And I was like, well, it's only 3 days. And I think this is a perfect starting point, because you have to have that connection with your partner, or else, then your kids are going to be the top priority. Then your business is going to be the top priority, and you're going to lose that passion for each other. And then you're going to drift away. I've seen it happen a lot. And then, one person goes in one direction, another one goes in another direction. So, it's like anything. The more you feed it and nurture it, it's going to blossom. But if you're not paying attention to it, it's not. It's like, do what you did in the beginning of the relationship and it will last a long time.
That's a simple approach.
Another thing that we've been seeing a lot lately, and I mean, I can think of a couple of specific examples that I won't like call out, but how often do you see, because you working with top level entrepreneurs, a lot of times the spouse is not completely aligned. So
Exactly.
you're working with people on your best life now, and yet the spouse is like,
That's been a big,
why are you going with these people? Who are you on this call with? Why do they think so crazy? What is this spiritual healing journey? Like exactly.
that's
And so someone even said to Jim recently, because they're in conflict, he was like, well, doesn't Jamie, you know what that's like? Jamie's like, limited, and he was like, no,
so
we're
we
like,
love learning. Like
I
that was just a core value. We both
Yeah.
want to keep learning in certain subjects and
Same with
get
us.
excited. But yeah, I'm sure in the world
So
some
I,
people are all in and other
disconnect.
people are all out, and it can be
Yeah.
very hard on the marriage.
Oh yeah, I noticed this a lot when I worked for Tony Robbins, because when people would join his membership, it was just per person and it was very expensive. So a lot of people would just, only one person would do it and the spouse wouldn't. And it was really hard because that it means one person is growing one way, like, going on these trips and going to these events, and then they come home and it's like, who wants to hear that when it's like, I've been sitting home with the kids for a week and you're out, And so I saw a need for that. And that's why when we started Your Best Life, I was like, this program needs to be inclusive. So it's the whole family, because it was sad. A lot of times relationships, broke apart, that I saw because it wasn't, you weren't doing this together. Now, the ones that did it together, it was great. They grow together, they fed off each other. It was beautiful. So that's why in our program now it's inclusive. So it's like, that's your whole family. That's why we're always like, you can bring your kids on trips. You can, we don't want it to be like, oh no, it's just per person, because it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, that's a big separation.
Yeah.
But we've seen sometimes too, though, and I'm sure, what do you do with the people where it's like you, it's all inclusive, but still, we teach at EO events sometimes. Jamie and I will do a couples thing for EO. And sometimes, without fail, we'll get that private conversation like, man, this was so good. My spouse wouldn't even come tonight
There
because
always
they're not
tears.
interested in our in this extra growth learning, I guess you would call it.
Mm.
Do you have any advice on that? And this isn't a trick question. It's just something we come across and we do our best to
Right.
address it, but it's a hard question
Yeah.
because
It
we
is a
don't.
hard question. And I
How
think
do
it's
you
really,
outgrow?
well, and unfortunately, it's like that does happen, right? So it's like, you really need to look at, again, like your values and your partner's values. And, if you're with someone who doesn't, share that, I always say, like, we each are our own individual, and no one's responsible for my happiness. My partner's not, I'm not responsible for his. So it's, you really need to take care of yourself and not have an expectation
Mhm.
of your partner, because you're going to be let down all the time. So if you're going to events or, networking and they're not coming, it's going to make it worse when you're like, hey, it bothers me so much that you don't come on these trips and da because they already probably feel like, well, you're leaving me. There's a big disconnect already. So they really, I think, both need to look at themselves and not like this blame game of like, I'm doing this and you're not coming. Well, you're leaving me and I'm staying here. And I always encourage, everyone needs a coach, like you guys and what you're doing with people. It's like, we need help, we need support. We go to someone and we love it because it helps us see our blind spots.
Mhm.
And it's very easy to blame, but when you really have to look at yourself, it's like, oh, okay, I see my role in this. But yeah, I think, if someone is at the point where it's like, it's a hard, like, if there's personal development is more important than their relationship, well, then I think they need to figure out, maybe we're not aligned with one another anymore. And, sometimes difficult decisions have to be made, but I really think there's a way to salvage it if you have the right support.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think too, like that falls into like core values, because I know you referenced doing core values with your children
Yeah.
and your spouse as a team. And we've done that. And I just think like even our own children are constantly learning. That's like one of our
Yeah.
core values is like lifetime learners. And so I just think that's like a core value at like the most basic,
And I
like
think it's, people don't want to, people have so much fear, it's like they're so afraid to go to a networking event or, to meet new people. It's really fear-based. And it's true. It really starts with our kids. We have our kids like in leadership programs and teaching them outside of what they're learning in school and teaching, to travel. And, so it's, a lot of it has to do with where we came from. So, but it's totally changeable. I believe, I mean, I've seen it happen a million times, but it's that fear. And if you transform the fear into awareness, I think the transition into trying new things is a little bit easier than being so afraid. But I think most of it comes from fear because they don't know and they've never done it. Not every parent is like us and, teaches their kids these things.
so true. And what are some other things I know that you've referenced a couple times about like raising your children as an entrepreneur parent? And you said, how is that balance? Because you said, if I'm not on the road, I'm fully present and available. What does fully present and available mean to you?
So I when I'm not traveling, I work from home. So I am there to, make my kids breakfast every day, bring them to school, pick them up, do, my partner, he coaches their sports teams. We have all our meals together. We're lucky our 16-year-old, he actually likes hanging around with us. Like, so he's not like, on the
Good great
weekends
son.
gone. I can't believe it. I know. I'm like, wow, when I was this age, I was not doing this.
We say
But
that
that's
all the time.
but
Right.
hopefully you're giving yourself a high five, you and your
Yeah.
partner, because people say, what is a sign that you've done it right? And
What's
we're
your
like,
greatest
well,
compliment?
we think that our kids actually like to still hang out with us, and they're
Yeah.
18 and 20,
Yeah.
our two oldest. So
Yeah.
that, I think you're hitting the nail on the head right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of getting them to not be live in fear and tap into their creativity. Our 6-year-old at the time was 4, he started his own business selling cupcakes and bracelets. And he made some money. So every summer he does that at our beach house. And now he's, you know, we have a dog. So now he's moved on to dog treats and things like that at dog parks. And then our 16-year-old, about a year and a half ago, we got him involved. Well, 2 years ago, he did, Tony Robbins offers a youth leadership summit for kids, for teens.
Super cool.
So he participated in that. And this year he's going to San Diego to do that again and meet kids from all over the world. And then he also, like, we got him into like doing stock trading classes to learn that, like, you know, I don't want my kids to feel like, oh, I got to go to school, go to college, then work until, you know, I'm like 65, then I can enjoy it. It's like, no, money is a tool, you know? So it's just something that we need to, you know, do things that we love, and it shouldn't be so stressful and so rigid.
That's so true. We actually just started a solo podcast yesterday about alternative education and how important, you know, like the difference between college versus alternative learning and
Yeah.
just some
It's
different
right
pieces.
experience, you know. Even
Yeah.
our little one goes to like an innovative Montessori school, and it's just,
Oh, cool.
yeah, it's like, you know, it's not this like one box fits all,
Right.
you know. It's like, especially kids, they all learn so differently, and that's what's so cool.
Yeah. No, Jamie has started and ran both Waldorf and Montessori.
Oh,
We love
awesome. I
that.
love
We're
it.
we're
Love
very
it.
outside because
Yeah,
school was awful for me. I mean, I was an ADD kid. I was
yeah,
always in trouble. I couldn't sit still.
yep.
And honestly, it wasn't until after college, which I really just went to prove everyone wrong that I could actually graduate.
Yeah.
That's when I started to learn. That's when I started to find
Right.
this alternative education. This
I
is when
couldn't imagine if
I
you went to a Tony Robbins when you were 16.
Can you
Like,
imagine? I know.
it's about
you
11
would
years
have been
later.
like,
Yeah, I would have.
you would have
I
like,
always said
your
if I
life would
could
have been
go
different.
back, and so Keith Cunningham was my mentor for
Oh,
5 years
I
in
love
my
it.
early 20s. So that was good, but I still said, wow, I wasted all this time. And for me, it was. I'm not saying that for everyone, but if at the age of your son's age, I had
Yeah,
just started doing specialized classes on personal development, financial
yeah,
intelligence, relationship skills, I would be on I can't even imagine the trajectory. And
yeah,
that's what we're hoping for our kids and
yeah.
yours, which you don't have to take the normal path.
Yeah. And you know, we're like, our parents, they did the best they can, right? It's
Yeah,
like we're
of
just
course.
always trying to do better, you know? And it's like, okay, what can we do and what have we learned that we can do for our own kids, you know?
Well, the old programming is powerful. When we wrote our oldest son's 20 now, he has his own inshore charter fishing business. He's about to buy his first home, but we wrote this blog said that our 12-year-old is leaving school because we were like,
That
we're
was, 11,
oh,
10 years ago
yeah,
or
Yeah.
whatever.
8 or 9 years
My
ago.
math is back.
It was 11. It was 11. So that's why we said 9. And it was like people were just like they thought we were almost,
We were like abusing our
child
children.
Oh, I'm
abuse.
sure. Right.
And,
I
And
but
like,
so it's like we almost felt you couldn't see it. The intention was good. The result we had a pretty big faith in,
yeah.
but for our parents, it was just so foreign to even think outside
Yeah.
those boundaries.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because people are taught to just, this is what you're told to do and this is what you do. And God forbid you think,
or
It-
focusing on values or the four F's,
yeah.
as you say,
Yeah.
like to take an inventory of where you're at,
Yep.
maybe in each of those categories, and how are you being served in your faith and in your
Yeah.
family. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Well, overall, I want to end with just a powerful question. What would be the first step for a family like you're teaching right now to take this alternative approach? What do you think the
To live
first
their
step
best life
to live their best life?
now.
But yeah, now and start now where they're going, gosh, I don't want to wait till my kid's 26.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I think they need to sit down and get really clear on their vision and, mission of their family. And,
Mhm.
I believe in writing and journaling, and I'm a big meditator. And I think that's when the answers come to you is in silence. And it's really hard for a lot of people, so even if you could do like 2 minutes, 5 minutes a day, just, again, I feel like we're so programmed and like, just keep going, and nobody has time, there's 24 hours in a day. We do have the time. It's just about really prioritizing it because as you guys know, kids, it goes by like this. It's like they're little one day and then they're gone. Like 18 summers. I know. I was like, it's so true. So like, don't waste it. We are here on such a short ride and we don't know when it's going to be over. So I would just recommend sitting down with your partner, or if you're a single parent or whatever, you know, just get clear. Okay, what do you want? What do you want? And what do you want your children to experience, you know? And just start writing and writing, and then you'll move closer to that vision. If
Mm.
as long as you're measuring it, because you can't manage something you don't measure. So, you know, you got to take action. You know, I'm a big universal person, but you got to take some action behind it. And maybe,
It's
you know,
hard.
and get involved in a community, or some people that can support you with that. You know, you guys, what you guys have is a beautiful thing, what you're doing. It's showing people that this is possible. And it's like, when I see things like that, it's like, if you see a family who's doing it and you admire that, follow them, like follow them and become friends with them. Like that's your tribe, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
Love
Awesome.
it.
No, I love that. Can't manage something you can't measure. I feel
Yeah.
like that's really, I feel like that's the wisdom I needed to hear today. Like it like speaks to a couple different layers of things
Right?
we have moving in our life. So I think that
Yeah.
was great.
It's
Which is
so
half the reason we do this podcast. It's like, that's what we need.
The learning is amazing. Like,
yeah. And
it's
how beautiful to do it together. You know, you're working with like-minded people and having, you know, fulfilling conversations that, you know, give you some drive and fill you up.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a business coach of mine who was helping me. He said, now, do you need to do the podcast? I said, we don't need to.
no,
Yeah,
We
right.
really enjoy to do the
Yeah,
podcast. So that's
right.
why it's not,
so fun.
yeah, it's a
Doesn't
different,
feel like work because it's exciting, you know?
well,
We've
it's just
learned
like you said,
so
we
much.
learned so much. So
Yeah.
just one of us had this conversation today to try to
Mhm.
relay it back. Do you see
So
it? Like
true.
we talked about,
Exactly.
oh,
Here
what
we
the
are
Robbins
again.
quote.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
relay the whole thing back to me, or one of your
Yeah.
masterminds. This way we're getting those little doses
It's
together.
an experience, and it's, you know, I tell people all the time when they want to come on trips or something with us and they're on the fence, it's like, I can't explain it to you. It's an experience. You know, you
Right.
have to just come be a part of it and feel it. And it's same with this, you know, like you said, this is an experience. You can't, one of you listen and then go back and try to explain it, because, you know, it's not going to pull at each other's heartstrings the same.
No,
No, you're
no,
absolutely right.
no.
Megan, where can people learn more about you and your best life now?
Sure. Well, our website is yblnow.com. And then you can find us on Instagram at yourbestlife.now. And, you know, send us a DM if you go. We would love for you guys to come on a trip with us as my guest, or join us every Thursday. We have what we call speaker spotlights from 10:30 to 11:30 Eastern, where we bring on a top expert, whether it's in family, faith, fitness, and finance, for an hour to have an open discussion. So
Awesome.
anytime
That's
you guys
awesome.
are free, come on.
We would love
I
that. And
love
I
it.
think we have a mutual friend, or at least I know our buddy Tim Story has been on.
Yeah, Tim, yep, he did our we had a faith event in Mexico a couple years ago, and he was one of our speakers.
Oh, he's a great guy.
We just spoke yesterday afternoon. So I was like,
Oh,
oh,
that's awesome.
my assistant texted me right before I got on with you, and she was like, oh, Tim's been on their show. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
great. So,
Oh,
All
beautiful.
world,
So
smaller
perfect.
than
It
we
is,
know.
it is. It's small. It really is.
Good. Well, thanks for coming on, Megan. We appreciate you
Thank
sharing.
you
with us,
guys. This was so fun. And again, thank you for what you're doing in the world. It's beautiful.
Oh, you too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.